Well, Tom, as the countdown moves to number 16, we find a regular season game, at least technically a regular season game.
And a very recent one. This is from 2009. But, Bob, with all the twists and turns in this game, I guarantee you still don't remember all of them.
And it sure feels like a postseason game, sure feels like a playoff game. Here we go with number 16.
They messed everything up. We got to come back here on Tuesday and drink some more beer. And I will be here Tuesday drinking more beer with you folks and having fun and watching the magic of this place continue.
Although something tells me that Kent Hrbek needed little, if any, excuse to have a few more beers, what he is referring to, as Tom Verducci and I are joined by Michael Cuddyer, is that Cuddyer and the Twins were playing their final season in the Metrodome in 2009. And that day was game 162, scheduled to be the last regular season game there. Might have been the end of the season, but for the fact that the Tigers and Twins finished in a dead heat after 162, necessitating a one-game playoff to see who would play the Yankees in the division series, and that game was going to be 2 days later at the Metrodome.
Yeah, and what a last month it was, and what a celebration that was. And it was a great weekend. We had all the players that ever played in the Metrodome. They came in and was able to enjoy the excitement of that pennant race and that chase that we had with the Tigers. And, you know, a lot of them ended up staying for this game 163. And, you know, like Kent said, they had a few beers along the way.
Boy, there's a backstory to this race. First of all, the Tigers had coughed up the division title in 2006, but they had the wild card as a cushion, and from there they got to the World Series, which they eventually lost to the Cardinals. But in this case, the team that finished second couldn't be the wild card. Record wasn't good enough. You had to win the division or you were going to go home. And the Tigers led by 7 in early September. And they led by 3, Tom, with only 4 games to play and couldn't hold the lead.
They've been hanging by fingernails onto the edge of the cliff for that last week. And really, Bob, all season long. Michael, your club was playing uphill. Go back to May. The Tigers took over first place in May. We're in first place, or a share of it, every day of the season. So this is a long road back, not just 1 week, but especially down the stretch the last 2 months of the season.
You're right. We scratched and clawed the whole way and never really got close. We never did. We never really got close until the last week or so of the season. And even then, with being 3 back with 4 games to play, still never was really all that close. But to be able to do that is what makes this game that much better. I mean, the game itself can stand on its own as being one of the greater games ever. But then with the backstory and everything leading up to this game is what truly makes this a remarkable game.
And you talk about a team in crisis. For Detroit, their cleanup hitter, their best player, Miguel Cabrera, goes out drinking on the last Friday night of the season that weekend, actually winds up in a drunk tank in a jail and has to be bailed out by his GM at 4 o'clock in the morning. So this is all into play as we get to Tuesday afternoon.
And the Tigers and Cabrera issued the following statement prior to the game. It goes like this: there was an incident that took place on Friday night into Saturday morning. It's a personal matter, said Cabrera. I'm sorry this has become a distraction. I apologize to the Tigers, my teammates, and all the fans.
And actually, he did address his teammates before this game 163, to personally apologize to them.
Here is the lineup with Cabrera in the cleanup spot. Curtis Granderson had 30 home runs that year. Maglio Ordonez was very hot down the stretch, and there you see the rest of the lineup that Jim Leyland sent out there. And here is Ron Gardenhire's lineup for the Twins. Joe Mauer had won his 3rd batting title, hitting .364. You're at first base, Michael, because Justin Morneau is hurt.
Right. Justin got hurt with 3 weeks to go in the season. We're already 6-7 games out. Justin goes down. You know, we had an owner's party, and owners threw us a party, and the owner is giving us a speech. This is 3 weeks left in the season. Well, the season didn't go as planned, but we appreciate the effort that you guys put forward. And, you know, we're kind of looking at each other like we still got a little ways to go, albeit uphill. and lo and behold, we go out and put ourselves in a position to get into the playoffs.
Let's take a look at the starting pitchers for this game. It'll be Rick Porcello, who has plenty of rest coming into the game, 14-9. It'll be Scott Baker for the Twins. He won 15 games during the season. But here's a little bit of a twist, and the subplots just keep on coming. The season ends, as it usually does, on Sunday. But this playoff game, instead of taking place, as it usually would on Monday, is played Tuesday because the Vikings are playing a Monday night game against the Packers at the Metrodome. It's Brett Favre's first game as a Viking against his old team. The Vikes win the game. Favre throws for 3 TDs. This matters to Scott Baker, who otherwise, if he started, would have been on 3 days rest. Now he gets the regular 4.
Gives our ace full strength, and that was big for us. Although, you know, you wanted to carry that momentum from the weekend into the very next day, and if you did get to the playoffs, you now had a day off. But it did. It allowed Baker to have one more extra day of rest. Porcello was having his rest no matter what. He was fully rested and ready to go. But it did. It gave us back. It didn't give them that huge advantage as if it would if Baker didn't have it.
And now you have something to do on a Monday night. Don't tell me you went to the football game, did you?
I think pretty much everybody from both teams was at that football game that night.
By the way, Rick Porcello, here's another little backstory. Rick Porcello connected to Tom Verducci.
Yes, absolutely. Rick Porcello went to Seton Hall Prep in New Jersey, pitched and played his baseball on Verducci Field at Seton Hall Prep. The
Name
field
for you?
is well, no, not quite, but it is named for my dad.
Oh, there you go.
Football
a more deserving
and baseball coach at Seton, much more deserving. And Rick Porcello was pitching on Verducci Field not too long ago, Bob. He's only 20 years old in this game, the youngest pitcher ever to start a 1-game tiebreaker. And Verducci Field is a great place, but I don't think it's quite as loud as the Metrodome in Game 163.
Few places in all of sports are. Let's get right to it now. Scoreless first, top of the second. Miguel Cabrera at the plate. Scott Baker on the mound.
Cabrera's put up good numbers against the Twins this year. 6 home runs, 15 RBIs. 1-2, swinging a fly ball deep left center field. This one is going to split the outfielders, and it's going to one-hop the wall. Off the top of the wall in deep left center, chased down by Young, rounding first and cruising into second with a stand.
This is another look at the Cabrera double.
That is Cabrera land right there, baby.
And after Carlos Guillen flies out, Cabrera's still at second, 1 out. Ryan Rayburn will be at the plate.
And Rayburn was a guy, you know, he killed us as well. And he didn't play very much. He came in sparingly. And just absolutely every time he played against us, you know, most of the time it was against the lefty. Obviously today it was against the righty. But just got big hits when the Tigers needed him to get the big hits.
Hey, really, Jim Leland went to Rayburn because he liked his defense. He chose him over Marcus Timms, and that certainly will come into play later.
Brandon Inge singes one, but Cabrera makes the grab at shortstop. So still runners at the corners, but now with 2 out.
And what a big player Orlando Cabrera is, especially in the playoffs. I mean, he got out of Montreal, and I think he's been in the playoffs every year since.
With different teams every year.
With different teams every year.
Picked up in July by the Twins.
And along with Carl Pavano, who was 2 great acquisitions that we made, along with Ron Mayhay and John Rouse, too, to all help us win in September.
Gerald Laird would have a lot of key at-bats in this game. He pops out to Cabrera, and Baker is out of the jam. First and third, 1 out, but Baker got out of it. Now to the bottom of the second.
And Porcello, he went out there and he dominated. He blew through the first inning quick. And in this second inning, as you see, he's got good stuff. He starts out the game with really good stuff.
I thought, correct me if I'm wrong, it was a different Rick Porcello in this game, throwing the ball much harder. Was a strikeout pitcher in this game. He led the league in ground ball percentage, but looked like a power pitcher in this game.
And his sinker normally is down, and he did right there to me. It was a little bit up, a little more up in the zone, which is I think why he got more strikeouts. He was throwing 93, 94, as you mentioned, and was elevating it, and guys couldn't catch up, as I think Delman chases a high fastball right here.
Here's the 1-2 delivery.
There you go. And that was a different Rick Porcello than he was throughout the course of the season prior.
He would wind up striking out 8 during his time in the game, and he is not really that kind of pitcher ordinarily, not that overpowering.
Right. No, typically during the season, he was 90 to 92. Today, this game, he was 92 to 94 with a good slider, which typically that in the beginning of the year, he relied on a big overhand curveball. And in this game, he was throwing the slider and had great control to start the game.
So Jose Morales, the DH fans, a 1-2-3 second inning for Porcello, and still a scoreless game after 2.
I thought Baker had a tough assignment because, as you mentioned, with the unbalanced schedule, he faced the Tigers a lot. In fact, it's the third time he's seeing them in about 15, 16 days. Fifth time over the course of the season. So no secrets at this point.
Right, and then that's, you know, 3 years into his career that he's faced them that many times as well. And you know, these guys at our level, you know, and you get these reports. And Porcello, although we had faced him 2 or 3 times throughout the course of the season, we didn't have much of a track record against him like the Tigers did against Baker.
Okay, so we've got a scoreless game after 2. When we come back, the Tigers will take an early lead. The title in the American League Central is at stake. You're watching MLB's 20 Greatest Games. This is number 16. Welcome back to number 16 in MLB Network's countdown of the 20 greatest games of the last 50 baseball seasons. With Tom Verducci and Michael Cuddyer, we continue now picking up the action in the top of the third. 2 men are out. Curtis Granderson is at first base. Maglio Ordonez is the hitter. John Gordon and Dan Gladden were calling the game on KSTP, that's Twins Radio. And Dan Dickerson and Jim Price had the call in Detroit on WXYT. Here they are.
Ordonez out on a fly ball down the right field line in his first at bat.
Right on target here with just 43 pitches in the third. Now Maglio swings and lines it into right center, a base hit. Granderson around third, and he will score. Maglio Ordonez delivers the first run of the day with a sharp line single to right center.
Maglio has come alive, folks. That was a fastball, but it was down in the zone. Down in the zone, he stayed on it. Mauer set up outside. The ball was inside, and he was able to drive it to right center. That is a terrific piece of hitting. Boy, has he come alive.
1-0 Tigers in the third. Baker puts the glove on the left side, ball behind the back as he gets the sign from Mauer. 2 outs and a run in. Tigers lead 1-0 in the third. The 0-2 pitch, swinging a fly ball center field. This one is deep. Span is going back at the fence, looking up, and that ball is gone! A home run! A monster shot to deep right center for Miguel Cabrera. A 2-run shot, and the Tigers take a 3-0 lead here in the third.
So Cabrera has preceded this game by apologizing for the distraction. No distraction as far as Detroit is concerned. A double and a homer.
And I'll be honest with you, at this point, as third inning, we were riding such a high coming into the game. On a personal level, I thought this was the beginning of the end for us. I thought we'd run out of gas. We were struggling a little bit. We weren't scoring any runs. We weren't doing anything against Porcello, even though it was three innings. They just were hitting the ball. Everything they hit, even when they were outs, they were right on the ball. And I thought we were going to be in for a long one.
Baker gets the strikeout to end the inning, but he leaves the mound trailing 3-0. Now it's the bottom of the third. Matt Tolbert leads it off.
Fair down the third baseline. Great play by
Look at this play by Brandon Inge. He beats it out, but Inge had that kind. He's a very good defensive third baseman anyway, but he had that kind of game.
Great play. But I'm sure, Michael, you didn't want to hear this at the time, but no team had ever come back from 3 runs down to win a tiebreaker game.
Which I think is why I probably thought it was the beginning of the end for us. But, you know, Tolbert was huge for us in this game. He had to get out there and make the start.
Nick Punto struck out, but then Span with a single. And here's Mauer.
Quickly, he'll work from the third base side of the pitcher's rubber. And a throw to first. He threw it away. Oh, it hit Jerry White. Here's the runner scoring, and the Twins have a run. Tolbert breaks and scores.
Why would you even throw to first base like that, John? That's a situation where you got a first baseman. He has trouble catching just a routine throw to him. And really, you're not going to try to steal in this situation. You want your MVP hitting.
Well, Span can run, but in that situation, with Mauer at the plate, why should Porcello, as the announcer said, why should Porcello have been so concerned with him?
Right, and that's a great question. And we were glad that he did. And, you know, that was the break we needed. That was the one that to get us back and get our mentality back to like, all right, we can come back. We can do this again. And I think if he hadn't thrown that ball away and we don't score that run, I don't know if we do come back. I don't know if that mentality, if we get that mentality back. But that got us within 2, and it gave us that little bit of a hope. It opened the door up just a little bit more for us.
Well, you weren't able to score any more in that inning, but as you say, you're on the board. You're trailing 3-1, and when we come back, Cabrera becomes a hero. But which Cabrera? You're watching MLB's 20 Greatest Games. This is number 16 on MLB Network. We're watching number 16 in MLB Network's countdown of the 20 greatest games of the past half-century. Tom Verducci and Michael Cuddyer are here. The game in question, the play-in game to decide the champion of the AL Central in October of 2009. Let's reset. Bottom of the 6th, the Tigers lead 3-1. Rick Porcello seems to be cruising. After an Orlando Cabrera flyout and a Joe Mauer strikeout, Jason Kubel is up, no one on, 2 out, and once again Dan Dickerson and Jim Price from WXYT Detroit with the call.
2 outs, bases empty. Kubel bats and takes a changeup that floats high, ball 1. 8 strikeouts, all on swinging third strikes for Rick Porcello. He has matched his career best in the biggest game of his life. Now Kubel lets a fly ball way back and right and gone. He hit it a mile. Jason Kubel with number 28, and we've got a 3-2 game here at the Dome.
No doubt about that one. Fastball, outer half of the plate, and you got a feeling that's the pitch he struck out on the last time up. He didn't miss it this time.
He carried it into the front row of the upper deck in the deepest part of right center.
All right, there's Zach Miner up in the bullpen, and he's warming up in a hurry.
And Jim Leyland is telling him, let's get going. He had him up even before Jason crossed home plate, and even before Porcello threw his next pitch. Leyland was looking down at the bullpen and cranking his arm, saying, let's go, let's go. And Michael, the Tigers bullpen had been leaking oil down the stretch. You probably like to get into their bullpen at this point.
Most definitely. I see there's a 3-2 count on me right there. I wish I had gotten out of there with like 2 pitches, so it wouldn't have given Miner enough to get warmed up. But he ends up walking me, and yeah, Leyland was quick out of the dugout, quick making the change. And that was where we were able to thrive against the Tigers throughout the course of the season, was getting into that bullpen and beating those middle relievers.
2 pitches ago on the 3-1, you had a ball up in the zone. You were trying to tie the game, right?
I was definitely trying to tie the game. I felt good over the weekend. I hit 2 home runs on Saturday and Sunday, and yeah, there's no lie about it. I was trying to tie the game.
Well, you worked the walk instead.
And there you go. He's running out there and probably saying a few explicitives on his way.
All right, so here's Delman Young, first guy that Miner faces. Look how deep Granderson is playing, and the bloop's going to fall in.
Yeah, and right there, I'm thinking, I'm rounding second. I know how deep Granderson's playing. I'm thinking maybe I can score. Obviously, I'm not Denard Span, and I didn't get around third, and we stopped it right there.
But sometimes in the Metrodome, that ball could take a very high hop and allow you to score.
Exactly. You never know. You never know what's going to happen. That's why you always got to run, especially in the Metrodome.
Brendan Harris, the pinch hitter, and he gets hit.
Gets hit, and we're thinking, you know, we're in a pretty good situation right here, obviously. And, you know, as we mentioned, they're in disarray. Everything's going wrong for them right now. And we feel like we're sharks in the water, smelling the blood right now. And Matt Tolbert comes up, and as you can see, unfortunately, the rally got killed.
Granderson will make the catch. You're going to leave him loaded and settle for the 1 on the Kubel homer, but now you got the Tigers on the ropes a little bit.
Once Kubel hit that home run, I mean, he was so huge for us in September. Big home runs just like that. And every time he hit that home run, we started feeling like we've got this game. And once he hit that home run, it was no different. We felt like with that momentum finally shifted into our dugout, and we were able to run with it.
And the crowd, obviously, is full throat back into this game.
Yeah.
What is it like field level with that noise coming down on you?
Well, that's what's fun about being able to replay this and watch it, because when you're playing and you're in the heat of the moment, you know, your head is so loud because you're cheering and you're going through that. You really don't notice the fans. You really don't hear the fans. So to be able to go back and watch these and watch the excitement in the dugouts and watch the dugout, the Tigers dugout, and see how distraught they were, and that's what's fun about being a player, being able to relive these images.
At its loudest in the Metrodome, could you hear "I got it, I got it"?
No, you couldn't even hear. If you and I were having a conversation right now, we wouldn't be able to hear each other, and that's in the dugout. On the middle of the field, you can barely even hear yourself think. I mean, it's a piercing sound, and obviously when it is that loud, they're cheering for us, so it's a great sound.
So now with Leyland yanking Porcello, the book is closed on both starters. Let's take a look at their respective lines. 5 2/3 for Porcello, 4 hits, 2 runs, struck out 8 while he was in there. Baker worked 6, gave up 6 hits, 3 runs. For the moment, he stands to be the loser, but what was a 3-0 deficit is now 3-2.
And as you can see, neither pitcher pitched bad, but when you're getting at that situation, the minute that momentum starts to turn on that pitcher is when you get that guy out of the game. And as you saw, the minute it started turning on Porcello, Leland got him out quick.
And it's a bullpen game now. The rosters are expanded, so the managers have multiple decisions to make in terms of where they can go. I actually think that makes this game more difficult to manage, when to pull someone, who to get in there.
Well, let's get back to the game right now. Bottom of the 7th, Zach Minor on the mound. He's facing Nick Punto.
Another foul. And the count.
Amazing at bat right here. I think it was a 9-10 pitch at bat. Punto's just fighting him off, continuing to fight him off, and wear him down, so to speak, and was able to actually get on base.
3-2 pitch, base hit, left field. Punto lines it by Santiago, and the Twins have the tying run on at first base.
After Denard Span fails to advance the runner, Orlando Cabrera comes up and will go to the local announcers for both the Twins and the Tigers.
Well, let's see if Cabrera can get on. He's 0 for 3. Here's the set by Minor, and the pitch to Cabrera, and he swings and drives it to deep left field. Way back, way back. It's gone. Touch the ball, Orlando Cabrera. The Twins lead 4-3. Cabrera lines it to the seats and left.
A dagger to the heart of the Tigers.
Big day and early evening if your name is Cabrera, be it Miguel or Orlando.
And that's the truth. And what's funny about this is Denard Span missed the bunt sign twice.
I was wondering what was happening there, because you know your manager, Rod Gardenhire, likes to bunt. Seemed an obvious bunt situation. Span had a bunch of bunts during the season to move guys up. I was saying, why is he not bunting here?
I think everybody in the stands and everybody in TV was saying the same thing. And in the dugout, we were like, what is going on right now? We got to be bunting. And, you know, Gardy was a little upset, obviously. Didn't show it too much on the TV, but, yeah, Denard missed the bunt sign a couple times, and fortunately it worked out for us.
Okay, so back from 7 games down to tie the race after 162, back from down 3-0 to take a 4-3 lead in the 7th in the play-in game. Coming up next, a defensive gem from our man Cuddyer. You're watching MLB's 20 Greatest Games. This is number 16. As we head to the top of the 8th, Matt Guerrero is on the mound. Maglio Ordonez is at the plate.
1 home run lifetime for Maglio off this right-hander. 4-3 Twins in the top of the 8th.
Maglio swings and drives into left field. This one is fairly deep. This one is way back, and this ball is gone. A home run. Maglio Ordonez has tied the game at 4 here in the 8th.
At this point, if it hasn't happened already, are you saying to yourself, look, this isn't just an important game for us. This is kind of an historic game. This is a game people are going to be talking about.
When Cabrera hit that home run, when Orlando Cabrera hit that home run to put us up 4-3, I thought this was going to be one of the greater games of all time. And lo and behold, when Maglio hit it, it just felt like somebody punched us in the gut again. And, you know, and then here you go, this.
Down the first base line, it's a good one. Fielded by Cuddyer. He dives for Santiago.
And with me not being able to field that, I know that it's going to come back to haunt me. I know it is. I'm telling myself, I'm getting on first base, and I tell Ramon, I was like, why you got to do that to me in this type of game? And, you know, and then once this little bloop happens with Granderson right here, again, it's going in the opposite direction. It's not going my way.
Runners at the corners, nobody out. Joe Nathan is in a tie game. You can't wait for the lead now. You got to use your closer.
Right. And at this point, I'm telling Curtis Granderson, I'm like, I just lost us this game. That's what I'm telling him at first base. And he's like, I don't know. Let's wait and see. And then the big strikeout right here happens.
A huge punch out. You're talking about a guy who's tough to strike out. In fact, only Dustin Pedroia was harder to strike out, and Nathan got exactly what he needed.
Next batter, Maglio Ordonez.
Here's the set and the pitch, and a line shot, caught, back to first, double play!
This was definitely the play of the game, and I wanted to say to Granderson, you're right. Maybe I should have just held it up and shouldn't have said anything to him. Maybe I distracted him, I don't know, but. And you can see the emotion that Joe Nathan, I mean, this is awesome.
So Nathan had runners at the corners, nobody out. He strikes out Polanco, and he gets the line drive DP, and he's out of it.
He's out, and from Maglio, who's now had 2 RBIs, I believe, in this game with the single earlier and then the big home run off career. And, you know, he comes up to the plate, and you're just, oh, no. Especially man on third, 1 out. He's at least going to hit a sac fly. At the least, he's going to hit a sac fly. And just absolutely crushed that ball right at Orlando. And, you know, fortunately for us, Granderson was a little too aggressive.
Well, that fist pump by Joe Nathan, it took me back to 1991. And Jack Morris gave almost the same windmill fist pump after getting a double play to get out of a jam against the Braves in '91. Granderson, obviously, you cannot get doubled up there. You must have felt like you dodged a huge bullet at that point.
Oh, enormous bullet. Like I said, I mean, at the worst case scenario, I was expecting us to go in there at least down by 1 because I thought he was going to get a sac fly or something. I mean, this is a guy who killed us the last 2 weeks of the season. And for him to hit it right at Orlando, and then Orlando to be aware enough just to come up and fire at first, because he didn't have time to look and see if Granderson was off the base. He just caught it and fired it and beat him by a hangnail.
Okay, bottom of the 9th now. After a Nick Punto walk and a Denard Span sacrifice, Fernando Rodney comes in for the Tigers. He replaces Brandon Lyon, and his first batter is Orlando Cabrera.
Cabrera, the pitch, and a ground ball to third. Great stop by Inge, and a throw to first.
Unbelievable play.
Another huge play by Inge.
And that's how he did that to us the whole season. His whole career when he's played third base, he's done that to us. And he doesn't get fazed by the magnitude of games, that's for sure.
So we're going to walk Mauer intentionally here, no surprise.
Mauer will be intentionally walked here. Fernando Rodney facing Gomez. At
so Carlos Gomez is at the plate.
He's in because we had Kubel came out of the game, put Denard over in right, and Carlos came in to play center. And you know, Carlos had a little bit of a frustrating year, but as we can see, as the game goes on, he makes up for a lot of it.
So he could have ended the game there. He doesn't. Jesse Crane comes on. Cabrera grounds out to Cabrera.
Did you get him, Michael?
We got him. I got him. I can promise you that. I can promise you that. I think they show a replay right here. Boom. Got him right on the front. Right on the number in the front.
Cabrera's out. Cabrera to Cuddyer.
That's right.
Here's Aubrey Huff. Here's the pitch inside. Huff's going to say it hit him, and now they're going to say it did hit him, and Huff's going to go
an 0-2 pitch, and it hits him.
And that was a good call by Randy Marsh. The replay showed Garden's going to come out here, but the replay showed it did clip his pant leg.
Got him right on the pants.
Don Kelly comes in as a pinch runner, and Brandon Inge will be the next hitter.
The 1-1 pitch. Swinging a line drive down the left field line. That's going to get down the corner. Fair ball. Kelly with great speed around second, headed to third. Gene Lamont's going to wave him around third. The relay from the outfield to the plate. Not in time. Kelly in safely. RBI double for Inge. And the Tigers take a 5-4 lead in the 10th.
Okay. So now what?
So now we just got punched in the gut one more time. But, yeah, right then they score that run. They've got Fernando Rodney still on the mound, who I don't even know if he'd blown a save, maybe one save the whole season. And obviously it's not a safe situation, but he doesn't give up the lead when he has it. So we're thinking, uh-oh, what's going to happen? And I'm leading off the next inning. And, you know, it's a tough situation. But, again, the resiliency of this team is what plays out.
Well, the Metrodome's going to help you a little bit, but we'll take a break before we get to that. This is game number 16 on MLB Network's countdown of the 20 greatest games of the last 50 seasons. Okay, Michael, extra innings in game 163. The Tigers now have the lead 5-4. You come up in the bottom of the 10th. You're the leadoff man, 0 for 3 with a walk to this point in the game.
Right, facing Rodney, and in recent history, I'd had some success off of him. I think we faced him a month before, and I homered off of a changeup. And we faced him 2 weeks or a week prior. Got a couple big hits off of him off changeups. So I knew going into this at bat, I wasn't seeing a changeup. I knew he was just going to come with me with fastballs after fastball after fastball. And I'm telling myself I just want to get on base because, you know, we're down by 1. I just want to get on base, try and start something. But back in my mind, I'm trying to go deep and tie this thing up. And but when you got a guy who's got a power sinker like Fernando Rodney, chances are you're not going to go hit a home run off the heater.
You're a good, obviously, major league hitter. And the Metrodome, correct me if I'm wrong, you liked hitting in there.
Loved
292 career hitter in the Metrodome. But in this situation, how do you bring yourself into that moment of focusing on this at bat and taking away what's on the line?
It's tough, you know, you just got to go in there and try and concentrate on putting together as good of an at-bat as you can. Like I said before, you don't really hear the crowd. That just kind of tones itself out. But the moment is big. The magnitude of the moment, you're amped up, you're excited, but at the same time, you have to try and control yourself. And, you know, fortunately for me, I was able to do that sort of and get a little help along the way.
All right, we'll see. Here we go. Bottom of the 10th. The Twins are down by a run. Michael's at the plate, facing Fernando Rodney.
And here I've already seen 4 fastballs, so I know another one's coming. I see it's going to be a little bit of a flare. I know he's playing back into no doubles. So right then I'm taking off. I see it get by him. And right here I kind of slide a little awkward. But there was a reason for that. Brandon was in my way, and I wanted to try and block the ball in case it was going to come in and maybe it'll deflect off of me. So I'm sliding way to the right of the bag, really, really late to try and get in the way of Brandon in so he maybe misses the ball and I get to score.
Delman Young then grounds out, doesn't plate the run. Brandon Harris walks. Next man, Matt Tolbert.
Here's where inexperience is going to hurt the Minnesota Twins. You've got Tolbert that has never been in a game like.
Tolbert's had quite a few at-bats here now in the game where he's been up in big situations and unfortunately hadn't gotten it done.
Watch this swing. He makes sure he puts this ball in play.
Exactly. Unfortunately, they were kind of playing in no man's land where, you know, they couldn't get there to turn that double play. And we were able to score the run. And right now, I'm thinking we got this game. Alexi's at third, one of our faster base runners. Less than 2 outs. All we're thinking is a sac fly, and Nick Punto's up the plate. I'm thinking we got this game. Maybe it's a squeeze, maybe it's an infield single, or a sac fly.
Or maybe it's none of the above. Maybe Ryan Rayburn gets to redeem himself.
When he hits it here, I thought it was over.
Here's the throw to the plate. It is in time. Casillas out. We go to the 11th inning, tied up 5-5. Oh, my.
Michael, I mean, you know the Twins pride themselves on fundamental baseball, especially the way you run the bases. And we saw with Casilla, he obviously didn't get back to the base as soon as the ball went in the air. Terrible mistake. He gets thrown out by that much. Obviously, he would have been safe.
Sure.
Take us into the dugout at that point. I'm sure people were not happy.
No, we were livid. All of us were going crazy, and we were jumping, we were yelling. As you could see him about 2 feet off the base, we're like, get back and tag. Obviously, you can't hear us. There's 60,000 other people saying the same thing. And, yeah, when he got thrown out, it was, like I said, I mean, we got punched in the gut so many times that this was like the dagger and maybe our only opportunity.
All right, so we'll go to the top of the 12th. After a Cleat Thomas lineout, Miguel Cabrera at the plate, full count.
Keppel sets.
Bobby Keppel's your pitcher here, and a walk.
He was huge in this game. I mean, obviously, he got himself into some trouble, but, you know, he'd never pitched in a game with this magnitude before in his career. And
Don Kelly with a base hit. Cabrera's going to make third. Young's going to mistakenly throw to third, and Kelly's going to take second.
Which was going to, we wanted to keep the double play in order. We wanted to be able to, because Keppel's a ground ball thrower. He throws ground ball after ground ball after ground ball. So for Delman to throw it to second or to throw it to third, Gardy's upset because we go over that every single day too. And you know, it obviously we have to walk Ryan Rayburn, and we're in a heap of trouble.
So the bases are going to be loaded after the intentional walk. You got to think about how you're going to play this. Obviously, if the ball's hit sharply, you might be able to get the double play. But a tweener, you got to come home.
Kind of like the inning before when Matt Tolbert was able to roll the ball through the infield. It was kind of the same type of situation where we had to play that. We had to play in a double play, modified double play depth, where you're not totally in, but you're not all the way back. And lo and behold, a little tweener gets hit. And, you know, we'll see what happens after that.
Well, it's Brandon Inge at the plate, bases loaded, top of the 12th, 1 out.
Bases loaded and 1 out. Keppel rocks and delivers, and it almost hit him. It said it hit his jersey.
Now he thinks he's been hit, and that should force in a run. Leland thinks so too.
I think he's got a great argument too.
Yeah. Much like Aubrey Huff, it hit his shirt as well, and you know, it was one of the breaks that we were able to get in this game.
Now, I felt bad for Leland because he goes out there and says, can you ask anybody else? And Randy Marsh is telling him, no, I've got it. I've got it. It didn't hit him. And as you can see here, that great big blousy jersey for Brandon Inge comes into play there. It did hit him. cost the Tigers a huge run.
Huge run.
But you're still in a heap of trouble here, and here's the big chopper, and look at Punto. He comes to the plate for the force.
Always does the right thing. Obviously knew he couldn't get a double play in that situation. Always does the right. He made a play in Texas a few months before with a man on second. Hit just like it. Instead of just going to first, getting the out, throws it to third, gets the guy out. He does the right thing every single time in the field. And this was the play of the game. This one and the Orlando Cabrera double play, for me, were the plays of the game.
But Gerald Laird has a chance to win it.
He does. He's got a chance and runs Keppel pretty good right here. Has a great at-bat against him. Bobby's up there just battling, throwing sinker after sinker after sinker. Gets the 3-1 right here, and now Gerald's probably mind frame is I'm going to win this game with a hit, even though all he had to do was take this next pitch or the pitch before, and he walks.
And here you're Bobby Keppel, who, by the way, does not own a major league victory as he's standing on the mound here. Laird fouls it back.
And which was big for Bobby to be able to keep his emotions to throw strikes, especially 3-1 with a sinker ball pitcher. It's tough to just tell yourself, I got to throw a strike right here. And he was able to do it.
Now, Michael, it's one thing to have Joe Nathan on the mound. You're used to Joe having the ball in these kind of spots. What do you think at first base? No offense to Bobby Keppel.
Sure.
He just hasn't pitched in these kind of spots.
No, you're right. And at this point, you're just like, let's play. Let's just play. You don't worry about the matchups. Just let's play.
He strikes out on the 3-2 pitch that would have been ball 4.
Which was just as big of a fist pump moment as it was when Joe Nathan got that double play. And this is when I say it's fun to watch back and you see Gerald Laird throw the bat into the batting rack, and that's what you don't get to see as a player when you're going through the moment, and to see the home run hankies and the excitement on Keppel's face and the excitement on everybody. You living in this moment, you don't get to see that. So it's fun to be able to relive it.
Well, we continue now. Bottom of the 12th. Rodney, by the way, is in his 4th inning of work. Carlos Gomez leads it off for the Twins.
And like I said, Carlos had struggled pretty much the whole season. And to be able to put together this at-bat, 1-1 count right here and drive a ball to left was huge. And now we have our fastest base runner on base. Arguably the fastest base runner in Major League Baseball. He's on first base. I'm up to bat. Mm-hmm. And it's a situation where I didn't want to be like Denard. I looked down at that third base coach and see if he wants me to bunt. He didn't want me to bunt, so now I'm just trying to get that guy over. Again, I knew he was going to throw me fastballs. Threw me one up and in. And fortunately, I hit a little dribbler to Inge where he couldn't turn a double play.
Well, it's been 5 years since you actually put a bunt down. You probably don't even remember it. Right. So that was the right play there.
No, it was definitely, and I got lucky right there. That was horrible execution on my part.
So it works like a sacrifice.
Sure.
As you see now, they're going to intentionally walk Delman Young back to John Gordon and Dan Gladden.
Alexi Casilla, well, he's got a chance right here to be a big-time hero and send the Minnesota Twins to New York. 1-1 pitch. Ground ball right side. Got to sneak through. Here comes Gomez around third. The throw to the plate by Thomas. Not in time. Twins head to New York. They win the American League Central. Casilla being mobbed at second base. Oh, my.
I tell you, Danny, this one is going to be remembered for a long, long time.
Oh, boy.
What a game.
No disputing any of that. What a game that will be remembered, even though it's been less than 2 years. It will be remembered for a long, long time. And you were talking about all the twists and turns. Here's Casilla, who doesn't tag up quickly enough. He gets the game-winning hit.
Such irony. From Matt Tolbert coming up in situations and scoring and knocking in the tying run to Alexi Casilla, being able to make up for the base running blunder. And
that's what's so great about this game. I mean, in any other sport, you would call timeout and put up your best hitter. Yeah. Joe Mauer, go get him.
Sure.
Alexi Casilla, no home runs during the season, didn't need one there.
No.
And he's the hero.
And he was. And it was such a great feeling for us to be able to come back from beginning of September, being 7 games out, to coming into that game 163, being down 3-0 out the get-go, and still being able to scratch and claw and fight for, like we mentioned in the beginning, 40-man roster. All 40 of those guys played in that game, and for us to end it in a victory, especially with the heartbreak that we had in 2008, losing that game. It was such an amazing feeling.
As loud as it was throughout the game, when Costas got the hit and Gomez scored, what did it sound like? What did it feel like at that point?
Just relief. It felt the weight of the world was off of our shoulders. We could take a breath. And for 3.5 weeks, we didn't feel like we could take a breath. And we felt like if we took a breath, we were going to lose. And we had to win every game from there on out. So finally, when we scored that winning run, it felt like we could breathe again. And what a great feeling it was.
Michael, as Costas is batting, are you in a lucky spot in the dugout? Are you on the top step? What are you thinking? And do you even remember what your reaction was as Gomez comes across?
Well, I remember I was close to guarding. I was close to the front of the bench. And I thought he was going to get this done because of everything that happened in the game with missing the tag up. And just Alexi struggling that year, went into that season as our starting second baseman and ended up losing that job. I knew it was the baseball gods coming back and going to reward Alexi Costas. And yeah, I remember my reaction. I jumped about 30 feet in the air. We actually have a picture from the first base dugout of us running out onto the field. And I promise you, I couldn't dunk in high school, but I could have dunked that night.
And now you guys proceed from there to take on the Yankees, and that's just an afterthought now.
Yeah, we can keep talking about this game. We don't need to talk about those 3 games in New York. But no, like I mentioned, we were able to take a breath, and that breath hurt us when we went into the postseason. You know, the culmination of the last 6 months, the 163 games, being able to finally breathe. Well, we still had work that we had to get done. And, you know, I don't want to say we forgot about that, but it was tough. It was tough to regroup. It was tough to rebound. We had a little bit of a celebration in the clubhouse. We had to shut it down earlier than we wanted to because we had to board a flight. And as you mentioned, the game was at 4 o'clock, but it didn't get over with until 9:30. So by the time the celebration's over, it's 11:30. You hop on a flight to New York. You get into New York at 3:30 in the morning. And because of Brett Favre and the Monday Night Football, we didn't have a day off. We had to go right into the series. And yeah, it just caught up to us.
Do you remember, Michael, when you got to New York, whenever it was, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, that you had time to frame how historic that game was? Or were you just so physically and mentally drained at that point, it was, I need to get some sleep?
It was mentally draining. It was one of the quietest flights that I've ever been on. And, you know, you would think we were still partying and living it up, but we were so tired. And then knowing that we had to play, but, you know, being able to reflect, we weren't able to really reflect on it, but I remember playing first base and, you know, Derek Jeter would get on first base and be like, that was an unbelievable game. And Alex Rodriguez, same thing. And, you know, I felt like saying, yeah, it was nice that you guys got to watch it from your couch, getting a little bit of a rest, but we were actually in it. But it just goes to show that how big that game was and how fun and exciting the game was.
You also have to think about Detroit as well. As much happiness in your clubhouse, so much pain on the other side. Ooh. For the lead having been lost, I can tell you, I was in St. Louis. I was watching this game with Tony La Russa, who's good friends with Jimmy Leland, and he knew already they had that 3-game lead with 4 to play. And what he told me during this game was no manager should have to live with this, because this is the kind of blown lead that sticks to a team, and in a lot of cases sticks to a manager, and that is now part of the Tigers' legacy. And
it happened twice, as we mentioned, in 2006, where it wasn't of this magnitude, and they still got to the playoffs. But still, we were able to catch them and win the division on the last day of the season, actually after our game was over. So it happened twice, and we know what that feeling feels like from the year before when the White Sox beat us in 163 as well.
Let's take a look at some of the numbers from this very memorable game. Let's start with the Tigers. A few things jump out at you. Maglio Ordonez had a big game, so too did Miguel Cabrera. Orlando Cabrera, for you guys, terrific game with the glove, and the big home run that turned a 3-2 deficit into a 4-3 lead in the 7th. Well, as you look at it again, I imagine you've seen a replay at least once or twice since then, but as you relived it today, how does it feel?
Whether you're a fan in the stands at that night, a player, an umpire, or a fan watching it TV, just to be a part of that game was something that is very, very special, and something that, like I said, I'm always going to remember it. I think everybody that watched that game will always remember it, and I'm glad it was chosen in one of these 20 greatest games because it really deserves it.
Thanks for being with us, Michael.
Thanks for having me. It was an honor and a pleasure.
For Michael Cuddyer and Tom Verducci, we'll say so long. And as we leave, I'm sure that all of us and all of you wouldn't mind seeing it one more time. Here's Alexi Casilla's game-winning hit. Thanks for watching MLB's 20 greatest games of the last 50 seasons. This was number 16. See you next time.
Ground ball right side. Got to sneak through. Here comes Gomez around third. The throw to the plate by Thomas. Not in time. Twins head to New York. They win the American League Central.